explaining the importance of acclimating fish. Not only fish, but also snails, as you can see. So my fish have been acclimating to this tank. He looks like a star. It's 20 gallons for one betta and one snail. And don't worry, I have a lid. He's not going to jump. That's just because I can't take him out of the bag if he's going to have a lid, because I can't reach him then. So, yeah. It's really hard to open this one hand, and my other hand's holding my camera, aka phone. So basically, the reason you want to acclimate fish is because otherwise they will go into shock, and you really don't want that, right? They will go into temperature shock. If the water's too different, they can go into pH and ammonia shock, and if the nitrates are different, then they'll get shocked by that, you know, and overall it could kill them if you don't acclimate your fish. I'm just going to leave the bag with an open lid so you can get out whenever you want and go to the snail. The main thing will be temperature shock, unless you get them from a really bad situation where the tank water was disgusting, or I don't know. Alright, this is my snail. The snail's probably going to take a while to go out. He's a slow guy. I'm going to help the betta out. And almost out here. I'm gonna make the opening a little wider. He does not want to get out. Oh, baby boy. And he's out! Good boy! Alright. It's just like if he... I think you were just in a freezing cold pool and then you jumped into a hot tub. You're going to be scared and shocked, and your body's not going to be able to deal with it correctly. So you're just going to go into, like, panic. You may get knocked out. You may die if it's too different and too sudden. Yay! Okay. So, you have to be pretty careful about that. You can just throw them in a bag like I did, and then hope the bag is, all good, you know. You just let it sit in there for about 15 minutes or until the temperature is the same. I personally like to do 15 minutes. Because that is what I find to be best. And it just works, so why not keep going with it if it's worked for me for years. Here's my fishy. There he is. Little boy. Big boy. Oh my gosh, he is so cute. So... and you are supposed to acclimate them for things like ammonia mainly, as well. That's really because fish are sensitive, you know? If you went from living in a dump to living in a mansion that has never had germs before, you're gonna freak out. Same thing if you went from living in a mansion that has never had germs before to living in a dump. You're not gonna be very well off, are ya? So neither will your fish. So now that I've explained why to acclimate, I'm going to go in depth on how to acclimate after getting a lid on him. Alright, done pausing the video, sorry about that. Alright, so how you acclimate fish, if you're going with something that has a very similar pH, ammonia, nitrite, you can do what I just did and take a little baggie, fill it up with the water they were in, and put that with air in the top of the bag, which you can achieve by just swishing it around, just like you would when you were a kid with a Kroger bag, and then acclimating them, which is what most people will do. You can also use a breeder box if you have one of those, but they don't let the temperature change as fast, so if it's a very, very drastic temperature difference, I would recommend that, but most of the time, I would recommend just a typical bag, because the bag will let the temperature change easily, and since it's not much of a temperature difference, it's not going to take very long. If you use a breeder box, it will take a lot longer, and a breeder box is just a spare tank that'll float in the corner or get attached to the corner. It's really for if you have like a guppy, for example, that's pregnant, you can put her in there so she'll have the fry and they won't swim away into the filter or into the jaws of another fish. If you are getting them from a really dirty tank into a really clean one, or don't know why you would do this, but a clean tank into a dirty one, you're going to want to do something called drip acclimation. Basically, you can have a big old bucket, fill it with their old tank water, and you set up a sump system or a siphon that will slowly drip one drop at a time until the water is the same. And you can just test the water after like an hour, see if it's the same. If it's not, keep going. If it is, then temperature acclimate. Well, most of the time you won't have to temperature acclimate. The bucket can overflow though, so you have to be very careful. You can also just get a tiny cup and barely pour any in, like, I don't know, pour in a tablespoon every minute and do that for like an hour. That's going to make the pH, ammonia, nitrate, nitrites, all those things. That's going to make them stable and not crazy different to the fish. And then if you get your fish from a pet store or a really dirty tank, the second the water touches the oxygen in the bag that they were in, ammonia will spike like crazy because the beneficial bacterias, because there can't be ammonia without, I can't explain it, but basically, you don't want to use the same water that they were in unless you know they have really similar pH, ammonia, nitrates, nitrites, and the ammonia should always be 0. I'm going to make a video soon on cycling aquariums. In a cycled aquarium, ammonia will always be 0 unless a fish dies or like you're dumping in way too much food, but in almost every case, a cycled aquarium will have 0 ammonia. So here's my beautiful boy in that corner. When I rescued him, he was in a 0.25 gallon tank. So a 20 gallon log is 80 times bigger than what he was in before. That's crazy. But I'm so happy for him. Honestly, when I got him, I expected him to not live very long because he had some fin rot, which has been treated, though he does have a fin nipping habit. Bettas nip their fins when under extreme stress, and normally they'll keep the habit. So even though he's not stressed out at all anymore, he still has the habit, and that's okay, So this tank is 80 times bigger than what I rescued him from. My snail, I just bought the snail. He wasn't a rescue. I'm trying to convince my mom to let me either get shrimp or more snails. But it's okay if I don't get them, I think I would get more snails because shrimp need such specific levels. Like, they need 0 ammonia, perfect pH, perfect nitrites. Everything has to be perfect. And don't know if I can deal with that. Also, my filter is very low flow. Oh, and I'm doing black water. I'm going to do a video on black water sometime soon. I'm so excited. My beautiful baby boy is being spoiled even more than he was before. He's never had black water before. There's 4 Indian almond leaves in there right now. 4 is not going to be enough to do anything, you know. So what I'm going to do is let the 4 do their magic. They've been in there for 24 hours. And after he's in that tank for a day or 2, I'm going to up the dosage and up it again so it's not sudden. You can't really drip acclimate with black water because that'll just dilute it and thus rendering it useless. So the best thing you can do if you're going to acclimate with black water is put in a few leaves at a time. Like if I had the 10-gallon he used to be in, I would probably put in 1 or 2 leaves to start with, probably 2, and then 1 more leaf every time. I'm probably going to put in 2 leaves every time until it's starting to look good, and then 1 more. It's probably going to take around 7 leaves total. I need to do a video on black water and cycling, so guess I'll go make those. See you later. Bye. What is this? I'm an idiot.